Okay, everybody, we are on, and this is for my friends in New Jersey and also my Texas crew. Now, my Texas guys, I have not seen you guys since I've been back from New York, and I know you guys are mad. I'm getting texts today, where's John, and he's not doing the meetings, and that's because, let me see, if you got us, this is us sitting here at Coffee Waves. I'm going to do a quick introduction because I'm making these videos once a week, as some of you know. That's Alex. That's Anthony. Art. And Art. Okay. I'm going to do a quick introduction for my other guys here in Texas. I've been coming to Coffee Waves for the last month, last 2 weeks, a few weeks before that. And when I got back from New York, I know you guys that I was doing meetings with and all, and you guys texting me and calling me, and I've just been changing the schedule. I wrote about it on the website. But today, I just opened up the camera because here at Coffee Waves, you got a lot of, college kids and, intellectuals and all. And those of you that read the site know that I write on all those things. So for the last maybe 3 weeks or month, I really don't talk much at all. But somehow today, Alex brought something up that he's studying something on Freud. And so I got into Freud a little bit because I taught Freud on the site under the philosophy section. And even though Alex is studying somewhat of Freud, I said, well, did you know that Freud, how he got, what happened to him and some of the effects of his ideas? Because everybody that has a certain ideology or a belief system called a worldview, ultimately it affects you. How does it affect you? How does it affect society? And Alex did not know. I said, did you know Freud believed that the morality of the church and Christian principles and the old Victorian concept, Freud said that all those things might have been the problem with man. And so let's live out the philosophy called hedonism. And I was telling Alex that hedonism didn't start with Freud. It started all the way back about 300 years before the time of Christ, and some of the early hedonists were at the time of Aristotle and Socrates. So I covered a little bit of that with Alex, and he was, happy to have understood some of that. And also Freud, a lot of people don't know, and if you're studying Freud, you should know, he believed that if you throw off all restraint, do whatever you want to do, he felt one of the problems with men were these moral principles that told men restrain yourself, particularly in sex. And so Freud said, do any type of sexual thing you feel like doing. We had the same experiment in our country called a sexual revolution. Well, Freud slept with the prostitutes in France. He got syphilis. Now, Alex didn't know any of this. You think they would teach you that when you study Freud. At the end of Freud's life, he was put in an insane asylum. His sister, this is history now, this is proof, his sister sold tickets to see Freud, the madman. And at the end of Freud's life, he signed his letters, Jesus Christ. Isn't that interesting? He went nuts, but I'm glad that I got the chance to talk to Alex about that. So, some of the notes, I took a picture, but I figured I'd do a little video. I looked at some of the notes that Alex had on cause and effect, and so we got into cause and effect. I was going to write this, but instead I decided to just make a video. And cause and effect plays a big role in the debate for the Christian apologist or the Christian thinker, because I was explaining to Alex that for many years, people that debated the existence of God, some of them said, you do not need God because the universe and all that we know that's in existence always existed. The great Catholic thinker, Thomas Aquinas, in the 13th century, he made one of the strongest arguments for the existence of God. Thomas Aquinas, for my Catholic friends, is called the Dr. Angelicus of the Catholic Church, and his thinking survives today. Now, I was telling Alex, all these fields intermix. What happened at the time of Aquinas, I don't know why I'm getting all this. Aquinas, there was a revitalization of Aristotle's writings that were lost for a long period of time. some of the Crusades led to the revival of these writings that were missing for a while. It's too much history for me to do. Well, when the writings of Aristotle, who I just taught on the site, when they came back, Aquinas was a great Christian thinker in the Catholic Church, and Aquinas popularized Aristotle and mixed it in with Christian teaching and theology, and so Aristotle kind of came back in, and the church today, Catholic Church officially, sticks with Aquinas' view. They say he's going to be the main person that will use his form of belief. Now, I don't know if I get into all that. But what Aquinas, he was a great debater for the Christian faith, Thomas Aquinas. When he debated the existence, where creation comes from and where everything comes from, he used the idea called the prime mover. And this is important because he didn't say that God began everything, but he was trying to prove that God was the initial one who started motion. Why did he take that side? Because we didn't know at that time that there was a time where everything actually began, that all matter actually began at a point of time. And I was telling Alex, Einstein's great breakthroughs, which most physicists accept today, was there was a beginning point. We call it the Big Bang. Now, if science ever could prove that there was a beginning point to time and space and matter and energy, then the Christian thinker wins. Because if you had a beginning point to all matter, which we have had one, there has to be something outside of matter. The study of everything in matter is called physics. In short, that's physical stuff we study, physics. Everything you study outside of matter is called metaphysics. It's outside of the physical realm. You can't necessarily pinpoint it. What's your name again, brother?
Anthony.
Okay, now Anthony and his other friends, they asked me, are you a professor? I said, no, I'm a retired firefighter. So this is kind of how these debates begin. But I was saying when you can prove, when science proved that there was a beginning point to all that's in existence, that was the biggest argument for the Christian thinker. Because then, by necessity, I was explaining to Alex, one of the other things in this notebook was cause and effect. And I told Alex that in the laws of logic and science, every effect has to have a cause. And if the material world began at a point in time, the universe began at a point in time, that's a problem for the atheist. Because then, by definition, the cause for all matter has to be metaphysical. It's got to be a non-physical thing. Unless you can challenge the idea of cause and effect. If you can say every effect doesn't have to have a cause, then you can get around the God issue. Because you can say, I was telling Alex that Stephen Hawking popularized a book a few years ago, and in the book Hawking espoused, in a nutshell, gravity created itself. Now when Hawking came out with that book, I like Stephen Hawking, other physicists, non-Christian physicists, also said Hawking was wrong. Why? Because what Hawking was trying to do was to get around this whole debate that I've been talking about. If you didn't have to have a cause for everything, if there can be something without a cause, then you don't have to explain where everything came from. But you can't get around that debate. And Hawking basically said gravity created itself. Now, in the laws of logic and argument, there's one that says a thing cannot exist, cannot be, and also not be at the same time in the same relationship. Okay? This is also fits in with the scientific method when you study science. So Hawking was saying, well, gravity created itself, therefore gravity existed and did not exist at the same time in the same relationship. So he made a mistake. He didn't make a mistake because I believe the Bible or because religious and no. He made a mistake in the law of logic. He violated some of his own laws, the laws of debate, the laws of logic, and even laws of physics in that book. But why did he challenge cause and effect? And I was telling Alex, I think Alex was familiar with the British philosopher David Hume. David Hume was one of the first guys who challenged cause and effect. And what Hume said, I think he's around the 1700s, but what Hume taught was, we do not know for sure the cause of the effects we see. Hume said, if somebody hits I'm getting into philosophy. Hume said if somebody hits a cue ball on a pool table, Hume said it seems to the natural eye that the reason that the one ball is hitting the other pool ball and going into the pocket, he says it seems like it's because a guy has a pool stick and he's hitting one into the other. But he says we don't know for sure. Or if you see water on the ground in the morning and it rained earlier in the day, he said it's probable that the cause is the rain put water on the ground. But he said we don't know for sure. Now, Hume was the first guy, philosopher, that started challenging cause and effect. Today, a lot of the modern physicists are starting to say, or philosophers are starting to say, what Hume said was all effects do not have to have a cause. But that's not what Hume said. He said we just don't know for sure what the cause is. Now, as these guys, and I'm sitting here at Coffee Waves, and I figured eventually I would start discussing these issues. I mean, I teach these things, and most of the people out here are from college or are going to college, and Alex is studying some stuff on Freud, so if he's getting his money worth, they should have taught you all that other stuff, but he gets it for free from me. And then we got into, and I was telling Alex, all these fields mix, philosophy, physics, all of these fields mix together. Now, psychology, and I don't really do a lot of psychology, to be honest, but still they all mix in. So the question came up, we got into dark matter and dark energy. Now that's physics. But what I was explaining was, in actuality, dark matter and dark energy, and I did a quick thing with Alex on it, and maybe I'll close with this. This is just to give everybody a little flavor of kind of what we're doing. Actually, dark matter and dark energy came up because there was a question. The question was, our universe, many of the breakthroughs in physics, the tremendous breakthroughs in Christianity and religion and science, all go together. It's all truth. All truth is God's truth, whether it's scientific truth, whether it's God revealing things to us through Scripture. All truth is God's truth. And I was telling Alex that dark matter and dark energy really fall into the category of metaphysics. We talked a little bit about the Hadron Collider, and did they get the Higgs boson particle, and I can say this on this short little video. What happened was we discovered, Einstein showed us, and many of the breakthroughs in modern physics showed us that the universe is much greater than we ever thought. And because it's much greater and it's expanding as I speak, there's not enough matter right now, presently known in the universe, to create the gravity for everything to function. This is a legitimate question, and so scientists were debating. This kind of went against some of the laws of Newton, that, well, where's this matter? Where do we find the other matter to explain the amount of gravity needed for everything to function? And over time, for the same formula to work, it's like now, in the beginning they said, well, maybe there's 10% matter out there, dark matter. Maybe it's 30%. Now I think it's up to like 90%, where they say, oh, that's a legitimate question to ask. But the problem would be this. There's a debate, and I can't do it all now. Did we ever find dark matter? Go ahead, Alex. Do what you got to do. Did we ever find, I'm only going to go another minute, and this is just to give you an example. Alex has got the phone. Did we ever find dark matter? For a few years on my side, I've been writing that we've never found it. We've never really detected it as you would in the field of physics. But it's really a metaphysical argument, meaning this. We need an explanation for this way of functioning. Therefore, one of the explanations might be there's a bunch of matter that we've not detected. This is how this argument began. And there was a guy in the early days of this debate who first came up with this theory. And this is a very sad story. I forget his name. He said maybe there's a bunch of missing matter, and they said you're nuts. Now this man, I think he killed himself because he had a lot of criticism. Later on, many in the field of physics, began to embrace maybe he was right. Maybe we should find this dark matter. But the problem you have is when you watch these shows, and even if you're learning these subjects, they're teaching it as if it's physics. We already found it. I don't think we found it. And I'm not the only one that has said this. Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the top physicists in the country, who visited Corpus Christi this year, he said the same thing that I'm saying right now. And I was just in New York for a month, as you know, and he runs the Hayden Planetarium in New York City, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he made a comment, and I didn't hear it on a religious show. I was listening to NPR radio one day, and Neil deGrasse Tyson said, dark matter and dark energy are simply words that we use because we don't have the answer. We don't know for sure, so we throw those words in. Now, I've been saying that for a long time, so it's not just me saying it. One of the top physicists in the country, I think he's an astrophysicist. The point being, in all these debates that people have, and I only got about another minute, I'm going to be done. These are good debates. And I get into these fields only to argue for the existence of God and prove for the existence there has to be some cause for things. And if all matter and time and space and energy had a beginning point, there has to be a cause. And if you don't want that cause to be God, whether it's the Muslim view, the Jewish view, deism, just any belief in a pre-existent being. If you know, I was telling Alex that one of the original philosophers before the time of Christ, Anaxander, I think was his name, but he called him the boundless one. They were all looking for something. They said there has to be a cause for this. These were all in my philosophy posts online. The reason these debates are helpful, and my friend here was saying, when he heard me talk about dark matter, he said, no, we found dark matter. It's taught like we found these things, but they're trying to, some of these things have not been found. There's a debate on it, I wrote about it, dark matter and dark energy. And it's okay if we find it. I talked about the multiverse. By definition, when the physicists started espousing the theory of the multiverse, they were contradicting themselves. Because the definition of universe is everything that we've observable. Anything that we can find anywhere is part of the universe. But they said maybe there's other universes out there. And then some said maybe there's multiple ones that never stop. The Big Bang has been going on forever. All of these debates came up because there's a lot of questions that we have in physics and science and in existence itself. So in philosophy, what I was talking with Alex about Freud, physics, all of these things are good debates if we do them right. If we do them right. I'll end with the one example of Hawking. What Hawking did in his example, that gravity created itself, he violated, it wasn't a religious law that he violated, it was just a law of logic, a law of common sense, and one of the laws of science. And I was telling Alex, the Jesuit priests, as a percentage of a certain group, they were the highest percentage of scientists during the development of the scientific method. And in the 1600s, 1700s, when we had the Enlightenment and all these new things, the church played a major role in all of these fields. And so it's just become more popular the last few years to say Christians should not have a voice in this. One of the top physicists today is John Chiarello. He's a Catholic Christian, John Chiarello. He says the same thing that I was saying on this little video about the multiverse. And the guy's a genius. And Chiarello said the same thing that I'm saying, that it's just a theory. It's not actual science. It's not actual physics. If there ever came a day where we could prove it, fine. But people accept things, and these guys are college students, and you know, to get their money's worth, they should know all of this. I'm not criticizing these guys. All right, I'm going to end the video. Say good. This is my new crew at Coffee Waves. Guys in the Bluff. I know you're going to see this in my North Bergen friends. I'm going to see you guys pretty soon. I've just been taking a little break, and I wanted to make a video. Okay, God bless.